Well, it's my great pleasure to introduce John Poriello, who is our host this evening. And John comes to us from Connecticut, and he has over, let's say, 3 decades of research, or not research, but as a wealth advisor. And he's come to the understanding that wealth and health are connected more than we realize. So, John, thank you so much for being here and being our host tonight, and for being a servant leader in our community.
You're welcome. And now I'm going to introduce Carin Micus. I met Carin about 10 years ago, and Carin and I have become very good friends. Um, and Carin is a registered nurse, and she specializes in hospice care and also has a passion project, which is called the Quietest House, which is educating people about end of life conversations and how to um, exit with dignity and grace. And Carin will say more about that as we move along. Um, but I, we're really here tonight to talk about Carin's journey back from a life-threatening illness to not only recovering full health, but also vitality. So what I want to do is to start with saying or asking Carin, how did you first discover LifeWave and this phototherapy technology? What happened in your life that um, that caused your near death experience? Why don't you start with that?
Awesome. Thank you. And only like a financial guy would call, your end of life the exit plan. Um, so you know, things happen in funny ways. And in 2021 was Labor Day weekend. I had some just pretty benign hip surgery. I had torn some cartilage. It was years of just use, and I had been a pretty high functioning or high performing athlete in my younger years. So wear and tear kind of injury. I had surgery, and 24 hours later, after coming home, I was home like by noon, feeling great. Um, and 24 hours later, I was in a helicopter on my way from one hospital to another because I had a ginormous blood clot that went from one lung through my heart and into the other lung. And a matter of fact, I was told that the vein that goes from your lungs from your heart into your lungs to bring oxygen to your body was 100% blocked. So my body was no longer being oxygenated. And I had to undergo essentially a procedure similar to a cardiac catheterization. And what they ended up doing was pulling out 10 blood clots. And nothing short of a miracle. As a nurse, I knew that people have like a 40% mortality rate. I knew that. And I was kind of okay with the results. It was out of my hands at that point. And, you know, God willing, I'm here to talk about it. Um, However, after the procedure, I couldn't breathe well. I was really, really short of breath. And I had one of those machines that I could put on my fingers to get some data on my oxygen levels, and it wasn't good. And nobody could tell me why. And that meant nobody could tell me what to do about it. And by nobody, I mean the cardiologists, the pulmonologists, the ICU attendings and fellows. Like I had connections to doctors because I'm a nurse, and nobody could tell me what to do. And it was just kind of a grin and bear it situation. But I was unwilling to bear it. And I certainly wasn't going to be happy about it either. Um, fast forward 3 months and this is continuing. It's short of breath. It's not getting any better. And it really was interfering with my life. I was pretty much sitting on the couch because that's pretty much all I could do. I would get up to go to the bathroom 10, 15 feet, and I was really huffing and puffing. I just so happened to be completing a business course at the same time. We met weekly online, and Jody Bernberg was on the screen, and I knew that she was older, yet every week when I looked at her, it was as if she was getting younger. Like I just couldn't wrap my head around what I was seeing. So I figured it must be some amazing face cream, some moisturizer that she must have like fallen into and it's just, reverse aging her. And I finally reached out and she finally shared this information about this technology. And I did some research and I was immediately, I got to try because nobody else, none of the conventional medicine folks could help me. And they were done helping me. Like I got that distinct impression. They did all they could do. So, next. And that just didn't work for me. So I got connected with Jody. I started wearing patches. I started communicating with Ta almost weekly. And we would report back and forth my symptoms and the patch placements. And it was almost as if she walked hand in hand with me through this process. And there I was sitting on the couch 3 weeks later. And I swear it was as if somebody lifted this veil from my whole being because I could take a deep breath. It happened like that. At least it occurred like that. And I could take a deep breath all of a sudden. Like my whole body exhaled and inhaled. It was amazing. I put that same thing on my finger and the numbers were unbelievable. 97%.
How long after you first started wearing the phototherapy patches did you have that I can take a breath?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay. And which patches did you wear?
It felt like I was wearing all of them. I definitely was wearing X39, X49 every day. I was wearing energy enhancers, carnosine, and there was some glutathione in there as well. At night, it was LifeWave on my feet, Eon, behind my ear, and a couple other things I'm sure were thrown in there, but that's what I remember.
Okay, so to recap, the blood clot that went from your leg to your lung that resulted in a helicopter ride. Were you conscious in the helicopter?
Yeah, the whole thing. I was conscious for the whole thing.
Okay. What were you thinking when you were on your way to Hartford Hospital?
I was praying, to be honest, and it was more like a surrender prayer because I knew that it was bad, and I had a 4 out of 10 chance of, not making it.
Mm.
So I was just praying to God, giving it up to God. There's nothing more I could do, really. I wasn't going to fight it. I wasn't going to resist it. I just had to give it up and let God, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. So then you being a nurse, following all the instructions that they gave you when you were discharged, So you languished for 3 months without recovering, and weren't your blood oxygen levels going down?
Yeah, I would be sitting on that same couch. I put the thing on, it was 92%, just sitting there. I get up to walk to the bathroom, it would drop to 83, 84%, and that's just not good. That means I have no reserve in my body. No reserve.
So I have to ask sarcastically, did you pull this stunt just so you would be more connected to your hospice patients? Is that what you did so you could relate to them better?
This happened. This happened during the birth of the quietest house.
Mhm.
So, as I'm preparing to officially become an entrepreneur in the death and dying industry, I have my own near-death experience.
Go figure. Well played, Carin. Well
Yeah,
played.
right.
So
Not me, the universe.
say more about the quietest house.
So the quietest house established in 2021, and I provide concierge death and dying services. What that looks like in real life is, I have that conversation about how to get it together before you die, and what does it look like when you die. I can have those conversations about, do you want to be buried or cremated? Hey, would you like to write your own obituary? Or a legacy project. That's also one of my favorite things to do. Is how do you want to be remembered is a great question I like to explore. um, as a nurse in Connecticut, I can provide bedside care at end of life, which is another thing that I am honored to be able to do. And what really fuels my soul is grief support. I am a stand that people explore and discover a space where love and loss can coexist. And I do that through workshops. And I'm having a grief festival on Saturday where people can come and explore 4 different creative ways to express their grief.
Excellent. Where is that
That's
that
going to be on a flower farm, Gassler Farm in Durham, Connecticut.
awesome. And what is your website?
Thequietesthouse.com.
Wow, how did you come up with that? Amazing.
the, yep. A
And
lot, very creative.
I know. How does your passion project of the quietest house, how does that tie in with the LifeWave phototherapy technology?
Great question. So, I use the patches in a conversation about support. Like, how can you, as the caregiver, support your spouse, your family member, your friend, your neighbor in being the caregiver? Like, how do you support yourself? How do you recharge, and how do you make sure that you are in a position to be able to take care of others? And then there's actually some patches and some placement on your body that will help you to process your grief.
Interesting.
So that's something that Ta and I have talked about.
Hmm. So your situation was quite extreme. How do the patches help ordinary people who don't need the benefit of a lifestyle helicopter ride? How do they help support the health and vitality of normal people? Normal in air quotes, not as if anyone's normal, but not next to death.
Yeah, I mean, if the results are achievable in a situation where your body is completely stressed out in an emergency situation, it only is logic that says it could do miracles as well with folks, who aren't in that situation, who are dealing with either, chronic injury or chronic disease process, or maybe just plain old aging.
Right.
You know,
And do you remember how you introduced the technology to me? What you said?
no, not exactly. I probably just pressured you into listening to me.
Well, first of all, she invited herself over for dinner. Um, and then she said, I'm like, well, so she told her story, and I'm like, well, why do I need this? I'm perfectly healthy. And she pointed to Chelsea, my partner, and she said, well, you need to keep up with Chelsea, who's 11 years younger than you. So you need to age in reverse. And I'm like, okay, I'm listening. And then she went on to talk about the science. And as a nurse, I, as Carin being a nurse, I listened. So Carin, what would you have to say to other healthcare professionals that have never heard of LifeWave or phototherapy patches? What would you say to them?
Um, I would I would really appeal to their science brain, first of all, because it's it really is the language. And let them know that this technology, this the results that are possible is everything as a nurse, a young nurse or young healthcare wannabe professional. This is why you got into the field in the first place, is because you just wanted to help people. And this is like a legitimate way to do that. It works. And you get to, build these incredible relationships with people. It's why it's why I wanted to be a nurse. I just wanted to help people, and this is the way. I've never felt this helpful in my almost 30-year career as a nurse. I'm
So what
not
I'm
throwing pills at people anymore. That's amazing. I'm throwing patches at them.
So now would be a good time for the disclaimer. We don't treat, cure, diagnose any conditions. And with that, what kind of breakthroughs have you witnessed people having with the patches over, what kind of situations or symptoms?
Yeah, it's all for me. I'm really tied into like the inflammatory, um what our body does in during that inflammatory response that has these long-term effects, either overstimulated, or not working properly, whatever the case may be. These patches have made such a significant difference in that inflammatory response. And if that's all they did, that would be totally enough. This is just a portion of it, but I think it's such an important portion. Like, I don't ever not tell folks about that.
Does it help with sleep?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know when I stopped dreaming, but when I started wearing Eon at night, I started dreaming again, and going to bed is fun again.
I'm not touching that one. Um, and what about like aches and creaks that happens as people age?
Yeah, so I can tell you that personally, again, nursing, a lot of pushing, pulling, lifting. I was in the ER, so there was a lot of resistance to the pushing and pulling. Um, I have, I was resigned, and I had it as a truth that I would always have some degree of lower back pain. Sometimes I'm on the floor with my back pain. Sometimes I just would lose a night of sleep. However, since I've been, wearing these patches, I can very proudly say that, maybe less than 1% of the time I have some kind of back pain, and it's usually attributed to, over use or doing something really uh, what I should be doing.
Okay, we have a word for that.
Yeah, I didn't want to use that word.
Good. And where would you be today if you hadn't discovered the LifeWave technology?
Mm. Um, I really believe I would probably be on disability.
That would be the upside.
Yeah, I would be getting a paycheck. Who
Well,
knows where I
no, but
would be?
realistically, you could have died.
Oh, yeah, there's that.
Yeah, there's
I
that.
definitely could have died. I mean, it was a 45-minute procedure. That's what they told my parents. And we didn't come out until 4 hours later. So, like, things were happening in that procedure room that I was fully awake for. And, like, I know enough to know too much. So, yeah, I could not be here. I could also be on, yeah, like disability and maybe on oxygen. Certainly not talking full sentences, not thriving and strong and um, loving life.
And being sassy
A little sassy,
and helping other people with their end of life plans.
yeah, and just unabashedly sharing, about what I'm up to, and that's a result of that as well. I'm. It's too good to not share, and it's too good to not talk about death and dying.
What's the reward that you get regarding talking about death and dying?
There's a piece there for me, like just like a fulfillment of soul purpose, like delivering the message that I was meant to deliver.
And what is that message?
That it's okay. It's okay to go. It's okay to let go. And it's okay to grieve. Like it's okay. And let's talk about it. Let's share. Let's build a community. Love and loss can coexist. I swear to God.
Thank you for that work.
You're welcome.
And one of the words that you mentioned was your recovery was a miracle. So one of the things for people that are new to this conversation is we have a website called miraclereadyinfo.com. And Ta or Chelsea is going to put that in the chat for you to look at. There's a couple 2-minute videos on there, as well as before and after pictures and testimonials. And what I would ask participants to do after looking at that is get in touch with whoever invited you to this Zoom tonight to say, hey, what is this all about? Or whatever questions you have or whatever you like the best, contact the person who invited you to learn more, and so that you don't so you don't have to end up like Carin did. You can be your best and healthiest self and age younger. You do not have to fall apart on schedule. We have so many active people in this community who, if they went to a carnival and somebody was guessing their age, that would be like a trick on the carnival master,
Yeah,
because they would be so off. We have the youngest group of of older individuals. It's incredible, right, Ken?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
getting younger. Even my resting bitch face is decreasing.
Same here. Same here.
I used to like it as a warning to people, like to back off. But whatever. I'll just have to say that out of with my words instead. So what final words would you like to leave us with, Carin?
Um, I want to say, I just want to say thank you to David Schmidt and to LifeWave. I mean, just remarkable, absolutely remarkable. I want to say thank you to this community for all your support. And like, it's just your support is, it's never what I knew I wanted, but it was exactly what I needed. So thank you for knowing exactly what I needed because you guys just rock. You really are rock stars. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Carin.